Now we come to our speaker, Karen Peak, and we are so glad she's here. And the gentleman behind the camera is actually Karen's husband, Chris, so let's give him a hand. Once again, we're really excited that Karen is here. Karen and Chris live right here in Chesapeake and attend First Baptist, correct? So we are just so happy that they are sharing their Saturday morning with us. And Karen has just quite a testimony. And if I could describe Karen in one word to you, I would probably say determined. Karen has overcome many challenges on her way to realizing her passions and dreams. Born with bilateral hip dysplasia, she was forced to wear leg harnesses and braces to the age of 5. Karen began a nursing career for several years, then in 2006 was diagnosed with Graves' disease and underwent a difficult thyroid surgery. Shortly after, she experienced many more health problems like autonomic nervous system disease, inappropriate sinus tachycardia, and she also endured a heart ablation surgery. So lots of things going on in your life, Karen. But through her story, she encourages others not to allow life to pass them by in the midst of hardships, but she just chooses to live them day by day with the Lord leading her life. So we are very pleased to welcome Karen Peak.
As she said, my name is Karen Peak, and I'm going to share with you my testimony today. And you're going to probably think, okay, really, that can't happen to just one person, but I promise I'm not embellishing anything. I will probably entertain you. That's okay. That's what I like to do because I'm weird, and I like to pass it on to you guys when I speak to you. Yay! Exactly. Woman after my own heart. So I hope that you enjoy what I have to say. For the most part, I don't want you to enjoy the misery, but the fun stuff, sure. But I'm going to get started, and then we're going to have a question and answer time after. So if you have questions you want to ask about anything, I'm an open book, truly. I really run my mouth more than I should and spill all. So if there's anything you want to know, trust me, I'll be happy to tell you. Okay, I'm going to start with my bilateral hip dysplasia. Does anyone in this room know what bilateral hip dysplasia is? Nobody? No nurses? You do? One person. Wow, I'm at 2. It's sort of. I was born with no hip sockets. So I was just bone right there in this little area. And the doctors told my parents that I would never walk and that I would be confined to a wheelchair my entire life. And they were Christian people, went to church, and so what they did was when the doctors said we need to operate on her to make hip sockets form sockets, what they did was they took me to church, and all the people prayed over me, laid hands on me, and they prayed for a miracle. And then right before the operation, they took another x-ray just to make sure that everything was okay, what they're working with, dealing with. And when they took the x-ray before the operation, I am not kidding you, I had 2 hip sockets, one on each side, perfectly formed. I never had one operation. I did come out all dangly, like I was like Jell-O. That wasn't normal because most babies, as you know, have their feet up. So from literally birth on, I had to wear leg braces. And they were harnesses, the Pavlik harness, and you see like Forrest, I had something similar to him, but not really. But I did waddle like a penguin. I had the braces on with a bar in between, and I'd walk like this. It was pretty embarrassing. And I would get in trouble many times by taking the stupid thing off, but my parents knew I needed to wear it. But literally, I had no operations. I was miraculously healed at birth. The doctors were able to put the bone into the hip socket, and here I am today. I played soccer for many years. Nothing has ever happened. So do believe in miracles. They can happen. I also grew up in a Christian home, and this is going to sound very terrible, but I wanted to be a sick child. Not sick as in I want to have surgeries and complications, but who in here actually likes school? No one. I hated school. I was not a bright kid. It took me forever to learn things. It was hard for me. I couldn't just read a book and I understand it. I had to work for my D's and my C's, and I'm not kidding you. I was not a straight A student. No matter how hard I studied, I could not get it. It was hard for me. My brother, on the other hand, he never studied and he made A's. He made me want to throw up because he was a genius, and I'm over here working hard for D's and everything, but I really wanted to be sick. I wanted to be at home. I wanted to sleep in, and I wanted to not have to go to school. School was rough for me. The kids were mean to me growing up. I was not bullied, but I was bullied as a kid. Some of you kids ladies can relate to me. When you're in school and you start developing as a girl, what always happens? They sing songs about you, they tease you, they pull your strap, and they're really mean to you, and that's what happened to me. Plus, I was blessed with braces, so when you've got woman stuff going on and braces, you're pretty much screwed, and blonde hair, because you're known as the dumb blonde of the school. So I was very, very depressed as a child. I was moving around a lot. We were military, so we didn't stay in one place for very long. Some ways that's good because you can make yourself a whole new person in the next place you move to. Other ways it's bad because you have no friends and you're desperate to fit in. No matter who you go friends with, you just want a friend. So basically, growing up, I was a healthy kid. Never could stay out of school. My mom knew when I was lying to her. So I had to go to school, and I got my D's, and yay, I was so proud. And finally, when we get to high school, we moved to Tennessee. And that is when my life pretty much changed. I became suicidal in high school and in middle school. The bullying, I couldn't handle it. I felt like I was a really stupid person. I had teachers tell me, because learning was difficult, they said, "You're stupid." Nursing school, actually, in front of the whole classroom, my teacher said, "You're stupid and you're going to fail. You're not going to pass," in front of everyone. And in high school, my English teacher, she told me, "The only college you can go to is Tennessee Wesleyan because that's the only school that you're smart enough to attend." I really hated myself. I was abused growing up. And when you are abused in verbal tones as well as physical and sexually, emotionally, you don't care anything about yourself. And I'm not going to give tips to anyone in here, but I did try every single thing you could think of except a gun to kill myself. And God never allowed it to be successful. I never understood why. I don't get it. But I didn't want to live. I got tired of being told that I was worthless. My ex-boyfriend told me once, "I hope you stand on a train track and I hope a train runs over you because no one's going to want you when I'm done with you." When you hear things like that, it really makes you feel like, what's your purpose? What's your point here? I'm stupid because I'm blonde, and I'm picked on because I'm developed more, and no one thinks I'm worth anything. So truly, I grew up many, many years of my life suicidal. I didn't want to live. I hated myself. I'm still working on that. When you really hate yourself, it takes a lot to learn to at least accept yourself, to like yourself, to love yourself. It is a process of many years of therapy. But I can't tell you that I stopped being suicidal. I was even married and suicidal, but we're going to get to that later. After high school, I go to college at Carson Newman, at college in Tennessee, and all I ever wanted to be was a nurse. My father is a physician, and I wanted to be like my dad. I thought he worked in the most amazing field. He got to help people. He got to make a difference in their life, and that is all I wanted to do. If I could make people laugh, that was my thing. I always said when I was a kid I wanted to be a comedian because I wanted to make people laugh. I don't think I'm funny, but apparently people laugh, so apparently it works. So that's what I wanted to do. And I just want to make someone smile. Even though I was miserable, I wanted other people to be happy. I wanted to make them happy, and I would do anything I could to make them happy. I would go so far as to wear nothing but a towel at Walmart because my best friend's sweet 16, her boyfriend was also abusive. He was best friends with my boyfriend. He was abusive to her for her sweet 16 birthday, and I was heartbroken for her. We had to go to Walmart to get her some tights to wear to school the next day, and I wanted to make her happy. So I put on really short shorts and a little tank top, took the straps down and wrapped a towel around me, put my hair in pigtails, strapped 2 balloons to the pigtails, and put makeup all over my face, and I literally walked in Walmart looking like that. But you know what? It made her happy, and that's all I cared about. And there's this one woman, I'm going to break off the topic here, but this little one woman came up to me and she goes, "Where have you been? I've missed you." And I was like, "Who the heck are you and who do you think I am?" But it made her happy, and that's all that mattered to me. So basically, that's all I wanted to do. And to me, nursing, what better way of making someone happy than be a nurse? What better way of making a difference in someone's life than being a nurse? In my eyes, that's what I thought was the best thing. Plus, of course, the blood and the gore are a part of it, so that was a plus for me too. So I went to nursing school in Tennessee. After going to Carson Newman, I was in psychology. I wanted to actually, when I went to psychology at Carson Newman, I wanted to be a psychiatrist or a counselor for girls. I wanted to be there for girls who were suicidal growing up like me. I wanted to be a counselor for girls who had been abused, because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through growing up. It is miserable. I don't want to see a woman get hit. I don't want to see a woman try to kill herself because she's been told she's stupid and she's worthless. And so I actually went to Carson Newman College to be a counselor. But God knew what he was doing, because I would be in jail for murder or be suicidal even more if I was a counselor, because I cannot handle being a counselor. And so after 2 years at Carson Newman, what I really wanted to do, because I was told by people, "You're too stupid to be a nurse. You're not smart enough to be a nurse. Med school is too hard for you. You can't do it." So that's why I actually chose counseling, because I was like, that's pretty easy. A dummy like me can do it, so I'm going to do it. But finally, God gave me the grace and the ability and the brain to say, you know what, I'm going to try nursing school. I'm going to see if I can do it. I applied. I got in. That's a plus. And the shocking part of it, even though I had a teacher that told me in front of the whole class, "You're stupid, you're not going to graduate, you're going to fail," I passed nursing school with an A average. I have never in my life gotten an A anything, but I got A's in nursing school. It was amazing. Aw. No one's ever clapped for my A. Thank you. I'm so excited. But I did get an A average. So to me, that was like, okay, God needs me to be a nurse. He wants me here. He knows what he's doing. So I went to nursing school, passed, and I became a nurse. And I was on cloud 9. I got to wear the cute little scrubs, and I got to be a pediatric nurse and help the kids. And it was the best birth control method known to man. So if anyone in here does not want little ones, go be a nurse in pediatrics or work with kids, and you're going to not want kids after that. You're good to go. But anyways, after nursing for about 6 to 7 years, my life changed drastically. In 2006, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. At the time, we were living here. My husband was going to Regent University. And all of a sudden, I was throwing up all the time. And I was thinking, it's the kids. I'm getting all their viruses, which, yes, that was true. But you don't eat everything known to man just because you're sick. I was eating 4 hamburgers, 2 hot dogs, and a whole bag of chips in one meal. And that is not normal, but my little piggy self did it. My eyeballs were getting a little bulgy. I had a baseball in my throat, hard as a rock. I was sweating profusely like menopause. And any woman in here that's been through it or going through it, you have my sympathy. I hate sweating, because after you shower, you do not want to have to bathe off again by sweating, and then you feel nasty. But it wasn't normal what I was going through. I had no energy, but I was losing weight like crazy. So anyone who wants to lose weight, you want Graves' disease. You lose weight and eat anything you want. So basically, we moved back to Tennessee because my husband got a job at UT Athletic, the school. And so when we moved back there, I decided I need to go to a doctor. This isn't normal what I'm experiencing. I don't go to doctors, but heck, I need to go see one. And the doctor gave some blood work on me, and we found out I was in midstream form of Graves, which isn't normal. But as you see, my life's not normal. My family has Hashimoto's. If you're familiar with Hashimoto's, that's where you have basically a dead thyroid. I was on the other spectrum with Graves. Mine was overactive. Anyone who's unfamiliar, or if you have crazy symptoms going on, you might want to listen yourself. But you have really high heart rate, you have sweating, you're cold all the time, but you're sweating, but then you're hot too. And then you've got the bulging eyes, the baseball in the throat, and you've got fatigue, but you can eat like a pig, and you can lose a lot of weight. It wasn't normal. So they checked me. My levels were 0.00. They said they have never seen that before. They needed us to operate ASAP. So we get prepared for the operation. We're in there, get everything done, the paperwork, the blood work, everything you need done. And the day before the operation, the surgeon calls me at work, and he says to me, "We cannot operate on you tomorrow. You will die on the operating table. Your thyroid is too hot. We need to cool it down. So we're going to give you some PTU medicine, which is going to supposedly cool it down up here so we can get the levels to go up just a little bit to where it's safe to operate." The reason that they were afraid of me dying is because of thyroid storm. Thyroid storm is when you have anesthesia enter your body, and when you have the anesthesia, it just kind of counteracts and just screws everything up to where your fever goes up to 105 plus, your body is convulsing on the table, and your thyroid and heart is going so fast it kills you. So basically, with my father being at the hospital, he was under even more pressure. We don't want this little girl to die. We're going to do everything we can, which I thanked him for that. So basically, he just said, what we're going to do is just cool it off for a month, come back, do more blood work, and we'll go from there. A month goes by. I take the medicine. Nothing changed. My levels did not change at all. And he said, this is dangerous. We've got to get this out of your body. We're going to operate anyways. We'll put extra doctors, extra nurses in there. So that way we can make sure that if anything does happen, we can cool you down, get you to go from thyroid storm. Good to go. So the day of this operation is there. I'm a little nervous, but not as much as Chris. He's about to panic because his wife's going through surgery and he's scared to death. But we go through the operation. I do start thyroid storm, but by the grace of God, he was able to have the doctors do whatever they did to prevent me from going full-fledged into it to where I was able to make it through. So after my surgery, I was fine for a few months. I was able to work as a nurse still. I was able to run, exercise, do my stuff. Because sadly, after your thyroid is removed, you don't get to lose weight anymore. It's not very fair. So I had to, all those burgers I was eating and everything, it kind of screwed me up. So I wanted to exercise and get it out. I could. Everything was good. But then about 6 months after I had my thyroid removed, new symptoms started to appear. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Did they not get all the thyroid? What's going on with me? My heart rate started getting very, very high again. And I was fatigued again to the point where I could barely even move. And I was having heart palpitations, and I was nauseous all the time, and I was having migraines every 2 weeks for 3 straight days. I mean, basically, any symptom that is out there in the book of symptoms, I had it. We went to a doctor. He was like, I don't know what's wrong with you. We went to another doctor. I don't know what's wrong with you. We paid so much money in doctor bills to hear I don't know that you kind of get sick of hearing I don't know, and you're like, just fine, whatever. Finally, after living with that for a few years, not knowing what's going on, in 2008, I finally go to Mayo Clinic, which is the coolest hospital known to man. They run so well. If you ever need a doctor, go there. They're never late. They are amazing. But they diagnosed me, and I was so angry with my diagnosis that you didn't want to know me after that. We had 5 straight days of testing on my body. Constantly, they had neurological testing, we had heart testing, we had everything testing just to find out what was wrong with me and what these crazy symptoms were. They finally diagnosed me at the end of 5 days with a tongue twister, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Can you say that 3 times fast? Let's see, I'll give you a prize. And that basically is an adrenal disease. It's a condition called POTS for short. And so basically, as I like to tell people, who in here remembers school? You learn about fight or flight. I am constant flight. My body acts 24/7 as if a predator is running after me, and my body has to get off the predator. My heart rate stays extremely high. This shortness of breath is not due to nerves. It's due to my heart is so fast that I'm short of breath. I have heart palpitations. I have the migraines every 2 weeks for 3 straight days. I have upset stomach and nausea every stinking day. I'm fatigued to the point sometimes where my husband has to bathe me, dress me, push me up out the couch, push me up the stairs, take me out of the car. It's as they like to describe it, Sometimes you feel like a patient with congestive heart failure. That is a lot of how we feel because our heart rate is so high, it fatigues us so bad. And that is what I live with. It's a long-term illness. I will never get rid of it because they think I was born with it, and that part of it, you live with it forever. So basically, when I was diagnosed with this, I was angry. I was angry as heck because they told me, you cannot work anymore. It's too dangerous. And the reason why it was too dangerous is I have attacks. They're similar in symptoms to a heart attack. They can last for 30 minutes. They can last for 2 seconds. They can last for 6 hours plus. And what happens is just like when you put a light switch on to turn a light on, my heart just goes up to the 200s. My throat closes up where I can't talk. I turn to jello. My reality is gone. I can't hear anyone that's talking to me. I'm in my own little world because my heart rate is so high. My bladder is about to pop. I'm nauseous. I want to throw up. Everything that can happen at one time happens with these attacks. And I was a liability on a job because I could pass out with these. It's just not, they're not safe. And so they said, I'm sorry. I know you love nursing, but you have to quit. And I was like, are you kidding me? I went through 1 year of nursing school for 6 years for you to tell me I can't do it anymore? What am I supposed to do with myself? I was young. I still am young, but I was younger. And I was like, seriously, if I can't work, what am I supposed to do? And then the biggest blow, we're not allowed to have kids. It's too dangerous to have children, so you can't have kids. And it's like, okay, you've taken my life away. Women want kids. And you want to work, you can't. What on the planet am I supposed to do with myself? So truly, I went home angry. You did not want to know me. I lost a lot of friends during this time. I don't know how my husband stayed with me because we were on the verge of divorce. I was a nasty person. In fact, it is so nasty that his grandmother called me one night, and he answered the phone. And she liked my curtains. I love to decorate and do stuff, but I'm not nearly as good as in here. This is beautiful. But she wanted to know how I did my curtains and if I could teach her how to do it. And I sadly have to tell you this. I was screaming, no, I am not going to give you my curtains. I am not going to show you how I did that. I was yelling at her through him because he was the one talking to her. And I was chasing him because he was walking away like, shut up, I'm talking to my grandmother. And it's like, I don't care. I don't want her knowing how I did my curtains. I don't want her doing that. I mean, I was a wretched person. Over curtains, seriously, if I'm going to get mad about that, then you really don't want to know what I really got mad about. So we literally were on the verge of divorce. I went from extrovert. I was always on the go. I was weird. I mean, I'm still weird, but I was weirder back then. I had a ton of energy, and that's who he married, was weird energy, full of life Karen. This disease has turned me into an introvert. I don't want to go anywhere because I don't have energy to do anything. I can barely function. He has to take care of me to the point of being like basically my healthcare nurse home healthcare nurse. And he and I financially, we were struggling. I don't know how we didn't get kicked out of our house. It's by the grace of God that we had parents that loved us enough to help pay the mortgage. We had gifts from people that said, here, God laid on our heart to give you some money, and by the grace of God, we weren't on the streets. We should have been, but by the grace of God, we weren't. With all of this stress with a new disease and with financial problems and with everything going on, your marriage is going to crumble. I'm sure if anyone in here has had financial problems or if you've had an illness in your family, you can relate. I don't know how we did not divorce. And in between all this, I have to tell you, honestly, I abused him physically. Because all I did was, I was in my suicidal stage even more so than normal because I was angry with God. Why did you take my life from me? Why did you take my job from me, my career from me? What am I supposed to do? So my suicidal attempts actually got big time worse, and I took it out on him. And he should have left me because I would make him bleed. I would make him black and blue. I should have been locked up in prison for abuse. And by the grace of God, he didn't leave me. He didn't hit me back. He just stood there and tried to get my arms and put them behind me, and he's the most amazing husband. I won't share him, but you need one like him. But seriously, he was amazing. But during all this time, I hated God. It's like, why did you allow this to happen to me? Why did you do this to me? Why is it that my life has to be so hard? Abused growing up, and I failed to mention I was also raped. And I have never mentioned that before ever in a speech that I've ever done. But God has laid it on my heart from talking with the ladies that I really wanted to share that with you today. Not sure if any know why, but God knows. But yes, I was raped. And through that, it gave me a lot of trauma, which is one reason my marriage has been so hard with him, because when you have been raped and you have been tortured the way that a rape is, you don't know what love is because you don't love yourself. I take him for granted. I took him for granted because I didn't understand. I wouldn't let him touch me. Anytime he came near me, I would cringe. Anytime he told me he loved me, I wouldn't believe it. I actually sometimes still don't because I'm still working on myself. Anytime he would say that I was beautiful, I didn't believe it because when you're raped, that's what they say to you. That's what they do. And you think, okay, if you love me, then why are you doing this to me? And so I literally, during all that time, was like, okay, I've been abused, I've been raped, why are you doing this? I mean, I wanted to kill myself more because of all the heartache I was living through. But through all this, he stood by me. I stayed at home every day looking at the walls, wanting to paint the house because I truly love painting. We actually, when we moved back here, I painted the entire house. He would go to work every day and he'd be like, don't I need to help? And I'm like, heck no, I love painting. I want to paint the house. So he would go to work, I would paint. He would come home and the whole house was painted and I was bored. I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I've painted the whole house. I can't work. What am I supposed to do? So I just laid around all day, bored out of my mind, eating, and it was miserable. But then finally, in the midst of all this, anger and hatred towards anyone healthy, anyone who has a job, anyone who's happy, we go back to Tennessee, which is where we're from. He's a UT Vol fan. I don't really claim him. I claim the dog more than anything. That's my team. So my parents have season tickets. As a good wife, I went back to Tennessee for him, and we go to a UT football game. That's the reason we go back. But the exciting part about going back is the one book I loved and read, which you'll understand why if you've read it, is 90 Minutes in Heaven. Anyone read it? Don Piper's book. The most amazing book. Blood and gore filled. It is amazing. But heaven is truly even more amazing. You need to read that book just to know his experience with God in heaven, and it's just amazing. But that same weekend, we were in Tennessee for the football game. He was speaking at my parents' church and giving his testimony. I had no idea he was even going to be there. So during that church service, I sat there so excited. Yay, I'm going to hear Don Piper. Yay, I get to hear the testimony in person. And guess what Satan did to me? I had an attack that morning. I got nothing out of a sermon. I was in my own little la-la land, and I didn't get anything out of the sermon except for 18 words. These 18 words miraculously changed my life. Those words are, if God can bring a dead man back to life, just imagine what he could do for you. I sat there on that pew in the middle of my attack. I don't know how in the middle of the attack, because as I told you, I can't function during these things, but God knew what he was doing. Sat there on the pew, and I said to myself, you're right. I am not dead. He brought this man back from death, back to life. So if he can do that, then I can be used for something than just a wad of anger sitting on a couch making my husband miserable. Please, if he can do that, I'm going to be used too. So I truly sat there on that couch and I said, okay, God, I'm going to have a face-to-face. I want to accept this disease. I'm tired of being angry. I want to release the anger from all the abuse growing up. I want to release the anger and the bitterness from all the just everything. I don't want to be suicidal anymore. I don't want to hate myself anymore. I don't want to live with the anger of these people and what they've said to me and what they've done to me anymore. I want to have peace because I have never had peace and happiness ever in my entire life. So I sat there on that pew and said, God, I want you to use me. I don't know how you're going to use me. I don't know how you can use me, but I want you to use me. I am yours. I accept this disease proudly. I accept whatever comes with this disease. I'm going to be a happy, happy girl living with Pott's disease in misery, but I'm going to do it with joy. And I'm also going to ask you to please remove all the anger and the bitterness in my life that I have kept up and built up all these years. It is amazing when you do that, and when God knows your heart is sincere. That moment miraculously changed my life. I cannot describe it. It is the most amazing feeling. I sat there, the second I said that, I started weeping like a baby. It was uncontrollable crying. I have never cried like that before up until just recently. Because when the Spirit touches your life, you're speechless. You cannot describe it to people. It's amazing. But he literally, if I could live it again, I want to. I felt all that anger and bitterness leave my body. I have never felt the happiness ever that felt me and filled me that morning. It was truly amazing. He gave me a vision. As soon as I accepted that disease, he gave me a vision. And the vision scared me, actually. The vision is, Karen, I want you to write a cookbook. Now, I haven't told you why I laughed at God and said, heck no. I'll get to that in a second. But he told me, I want you to write a cookbook, and I want you to have a TV talk show one day. And that I really laughed at, because I don't like being on TV. I know this doesn't look like that, but trust me, I'm not comfortable with this yet. But he said, I want you to have a TV talk show, and I want you to write a cookbook. And I had a vision. I saw myself in a studio with people, and that scared me. And I was like, I'm not a TV talk show host. That is not me. And I can't write a book. I can't even read a recipe. How do you want me writing a cookbook? I can't cook. But when God tells you to do something, you better do it. And you're going to do it, and you're not going to know how you're going to do it, but he's going to allow it to happen. So basically, I'm on that pew, scaring the mess out of my husband. He bends down, and he's like, Karen, are you okay? Because he literally thought I was having a heart attack, and something bad was about to happen, and he needed to take me to the hospital. I was crying that much. And I just said, I'm having a moment with God. I'm fine. We went home from that weekend, September 2008, came back here, and I was so excited. Guess where I went to culinary school? Anyone want to guess? My living room, in my pajamas, watching Food Network and Cooking Channel. That was my culinary school. Yay! Did y'all, I was so excited. I had no clue there's Food Network. Did y'all? That was so cool. I don't even know how long ago it's been on TV, because I came home and I was like, where did this channel come from? I didn't know we had Food Network, because I didn't know about it. But that's where I went to culinary school, was Food Network and trial and error in my own kitchen. Now, the funny thing is, people in my past, when I tell them I wrote a cookbook, they're like, I'm not buying it. And I don't believe it. Because seriously, okay, when I was about maybe 10, I don't know, I was in Clinton, Mississippi. My dad was at war. My mom was out walking with a friend. And I'm hungry. I wanted a snack. A bagel, an innocent little bagel. I stick it in the microwave. Can anyone imagine where the story's going to go? I put it in there for 10 minutes, not 10 seconds. Because me and math, we don't work. So 10 minutes, 10 seconds seem the same to me. So I put it in there for 10 minutes on top of a paper towel. I go off into the house and do my little thing. All of a sudden, I smell smoke and burnt something. And black smoke has filled the air. It is so deep and so dark, and it's like, oh no, I think I'm just about to burn the house down. Run to the kitchen. The microwave is on fire. I open up the microwave. The bagel's on fire. The paper towel's on fire. And it was just 10 long minutes I stuck it in there, but it was all on fire. That was the first cooking disaster. I burned Jell-O. Yes, it can happen. It can happen. I was so blind, I didn't know that you're supposed to put the Jell-O in a dish and then pour the hot water in the dish with the Jell-O. No. This one here, this one here put the Jell-O in the saucepan on the stovetop and burned it to the skillet. Don't ever do that. In brownies, I made soup, not brownies. The best one is yet to come. Turkey Day comes, Thanksgiving. My in-laws come to town. It is my first turkey day to cook. I'm so excited. I got a nice little pretty bird and a little ducky, and we're in the oven. We're cooking at the right time, and the temperature is what it's supposed to be, and I have herbs and butter, because that's like, okay, God told me to write a cookbook. Here it is. Okay, I am really this stupid. I took the bird out like they tell you to do, the same time, the same temperature cooking. I let it rest like you're supposed to. I carve it, and it's bleeding. Okay, I really am this blind. I didn't think if you put it back in the oven It would cook and finish cooking. I thought I ruined it. And I was like, okay, there's no way of saving this bird. I literally threw it over the fence and let all the animals in the woods behind my house eat our Thanksgiving dinner because I didn't know any better to stick it back in the oven and let it finish cooking. I mean, I was really disastrous when it came to the kitchen. You did not want to, you know. And then I've even set the oven on fire. I was making something and the oil dripped off the pan. The oven was on fire. And by the way, if you start a fire, put flour on it. Don't put water or it's going to be a big mess. So this is why when God said, go write a cookbook, I was like, you don't want that from me. But I did it anyways. When we were first married, all we ate was boxed lasagna, chicken pot pie, hamburger helper, Mexican once a week, because I truly should have been born Mexican. I am obsessed with Mexican food. I don't know how. I'm not the size of a barn, but oh, I love my Mexican food. And there is one meal I knew how to cook. Was spaghetti. It's the famous Blake spaghetti recipe. And that's all we ate. I did not know how to cook. My poor husband was, please, can you learn how to cook something else? Can you please read a recipe? Can you please write a recipe? I'm sick of eating the same thing every week for years. I honestly had no clue how to read a recipe. I had no clue how to write a recipe. And it's amazing. When God tells you to do something, it's amazing what happens. We came home that weekend, and you won't believe it. I wrote a recipe. I cooked it, and it actually tasted good. And not even that, I learned how to write more recipes. I have written over 1,000 recipes, and I had all these recipes come to mind. I would be laying in bed, and this recipe would come to my mind. I had to turn the light on, write it down. I'll be at the gym working out, and I'm in my body pump class with the bar on my body, and it's like, oh, I have a recipe. I can't write it down, so I'm sitting here remembering the ingredients as I'm working out. It's amazing. When God tells you to do something, it goes full blast amazing when he tells you to do something. During this time, I didn't know how to even begin to write a cookbook. I had all the recipes. I had enough for 10 million books. I didn't know what to do. But God will bring in your path exactly what you need when he tells you to do something. My sister was working at a place in North Carolina, and she met a man who she worked with kind of off and on. And they had a work relationship, and he said, okay, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Because she was leaving or he was leaving or something. And so she said, okay, well, my sister is writing a cookbook. She doesn't know what she needs to do, but she's got the recipes, and she would love some help. And he said I would be happy to design her book for her because he was a designer. So I get in touch with him, and we start designing a book. And it is truly amazing. I do not have one here in front of me to show you. But do you mind going to get me a thanks? I'm sorry. Y'all having a good day today? It's really cold outside. But basically, this cookbook is an all-in-one book. Thank you so much. Since I could not be a nurse but for 6 years, and I literally went through you-know-what for a 1-year nursing school, and I was angry. I can only be a nurse 6 years. What am I supposed to do with my degree? Here's my degree in this book. This designer, through God and everything he did, this book actually came to life. Now, I have to tell you, books cost a lot of money. Thousands and thousands of dollars, which we didn't have because we were in financial crisis, still kind of are. So I don't know how this happened, but again, when God tells you to do something, he's going to make it happen. We had gifts from people. They had no clue I was even working on a project. They gave us money. Parents, they gave us money. We had a car we had to sell. There's some money. God will supply. Just have faith. This book came about, and my degree is in this book. I'm so happy. It's a book that's never been written. You have my recipes at the top of every page, which are healthy. I have to say they're basically healthy because I have very high cholesterol in my family. I didn't get to eat the Little Debbie's. I didn't get to eat the fried food, even though fried chicken is my favorite food for anyone that wants to cook for me sometime. But seriously, this is a book with basic health food. And then underneath every recipe, you have tips on how to cook on a budget. Because I'm so poor, I had to learn to cook on a budget. How to preserve your food longer, how to get garlic off your fingers, how to not make brown sugar harden like a rock. Then you have alternatives. And the alternatives are for every dietary need. Every stinking recipe has them. If you're a meat eater, if you're gluten-free, if you're vegan, if you're vegetarian, if you're peanut allergy, if you're dairy allergy, the list continues on. Every recipe has alternatives for every dietary need. All you have to do is take my little ingredient up here, go down here and find the ingredient, and it will give you your dietary swap on the other side. So if you have picky eaters at home, if you have a meat eater and a vegan, all you have to do, instead of making 2 separate meals, is just take this swap ingredient, cook that alongside the others, and everyone is happy. There's no page flipping. Every ingredient gets used again because, again, when you cook on a budget, you have to learn how to use your food again. And I promise you this, there is no weird ingredient in here you've never heard of, because you know those cookbooks that you're like, oh my, what is this? Is it a spice? Is it an herb? Is it a cheese? I don't know. I'm going to leave it out. I didn't do that. This is for dummies, really. So this is a book that I was amazed that God asked me to write, little old me. But it happened. And here's the vessel that God uses for me to share people my testimony and to let people know how amazing God truly is. The scary part that happened in the making of this is my husband and I went to a birthday party he works at CBN, and we had a birthday party of someone we had to go to. I don't know any of these work people at this point, no one. And these people have never met me. He doesn't talk about me at work, I don't think. And so they didn't know what was going on. But this one woman in the middle of conversation, we're all talking about who knows what, and she just does this. And I'm like, okay, you're going to hit me or something. And she just said, God told me to tell you right now that whatever it is you're working on, it's going to be huge. And I'm kind of looking at her like, okay, you're weird. And because I've never had word of prophecy spoken to me before. It scared me, because if you've never had it, you don't really know if it's true, number one. You don't know if you should believe it, number two. And it's like, okay, Twilight Zone. But she said, whatever it is you're working on, it's going to be huge. And I kind of look at her like, huh? And everyone's like, we're in the middle of conversation, you're interrupting. And she's like, I don't care. God told me to tell you, whatever it is you're working on, you're going to be very successful, and it's going to be huge. And she kind of, because I was looking at her like, are you crazy still? And she just, are you okay? Yeah. And she goes, are you working on something? And I said, yes. And she goes, is it a project? I said, yes. And she goes, did God tell you to do it? I said, yes. And that's the only thing I can say is yes. And finally, she just said, when God tells you to do something, he's going to make it happen. And if you're working on something, he told me to tell you it's going to be successful and it's going to be huge. Okay, I was freaked out. I got nothing else out of the birthday party, which is fine because I didn't really know anyone. But that night when I went home, I went to my Bible study. This book is incredible. If you don't have it, you need to get it. The Jesus Calling devotion book, it's amazing. But that night, my devotion, it told me something amazing. Now, every single night after God gave me this vision, I prayed, God, if this is what you want me to do, confirm it to me. Let me know this is what you want me to do, and I'm going to do it. Well, that night, my devotion on January 5th was, You Can Achieve the Victorious Life. Now, that title sounds exciting so far, so I was kind of excited to dig into it. It says, you can achieve the victorious life living through in deep dependence on me. People usually associate victory with success, not failing or falling or stumbling or not making mistakes. But those who are successful in their own strength tend to go their own way, forgetting about me. It is through problems, failure, weakness, neediness that you learn to rely on me. True dependence is not simply asking me to bless what you have decided to do. It is me coming to you with an open mind, you with the open mind, with an open heart, inviting me in to plant my desires within you, which is cooking, because again, I couldn't cook. I may infuse within you a dream that seems so far beyond your reach, which y'all can see where that dream was. Thus begins your journey of profound reliance on me. It is a faith walk taken one step at a time, leaning on me as much as you need. This is not a path of continual success, but multiple failures. However, each failure is followed by a growth spurt, nourished by increased reliance on me. Enjoy your blessedness of a victorious life through practicing deep dependence on me. Wow. After my word, I have chill bumps now. After that word of prophecy, this was my Bible study. I could not believe it. God literally spoke to me, and like I told you, everything in there, I put my name in it. And that's how someone told me growing up. When you're going through hard times, like Peter on the water, don't use the name Peter, put you. You're the one who was sinking. God asked you to get into the boat instead of Peter. And that's what I do when I do my Bible studies, is you replace and put you in there. And that's what I did that night. And God confirmed to me, what you're doing is what I told you to do. And he confirmed it. And here's my finished product. Now, growing up, 2 scriptures came to my mind, and I didn't really understand why until now, because I want you guys right now to think back on your life. I want you to think back on things you didn't think meant anything, things that you kind of wondered, why is this happening? And think about how God has purposely given you that in your past to make you and use it for your future. An example, I went to youth camp, and they told us to do our own Bible studies, which I hated because I didn't know how to do a Bible study. I didn't know what I was doing. So I would literally just sit there and look at the trees and the birds and everything. But one morning, God gave me a scripture out of nowhere. James 1, 2 through 4. Has anyone read that verse? It's incredible. And it does the same thing I told y'all to do. Put your name into the scripture, and that scripture is yours. You can stand on it, and it means more to you, and it's more powerful to you. The scripture is, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because it is the testing of your faith, which produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Now, I was wondering, okay, God, why are you giving me this scripture? Okay, that's nice. I didn't think anything of it. The next day, we had to do our own Bible study again. God gives me another scripture out of the blue, 1 Corinthians 10:13. I didn't know why, but the scripture reads, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way that you can endure it. These scriptures, if I did not have those growing up, I would not be who I am today or where I am today. I have used these are my rock. Because every time I go through a trial, it is the testing of my faith. God wants to see how much can I handle, how much can he not put me through, but allow me to go through before I either, one, fall, want nothing to do with him, or I grow closer to him and depend on him. That scripture has meant so much to me with all the things I've gone through with my life. And I want you to know, just because you have a good relationship with God, you have a great walk with God, and things are great, your life is still going to have problems. Just in this past September, I'm going to try to get through this without crying, but this past September, we got pregnant. We were told a year ago November that we can have kids. It's dangerous, but you can. Go to high-risk doctors, you can do it. September, we got pregnant. I was so elated, so happy, because we've been married 10 years almost, and we wanted kids so bad, and we're not getting any younger, and that's all I wanted was a kid. We finally get pregnant. We go to Junior's first picture in October, and that was the most amazing and most horrible day of my life. We got the picture. Then the ultrasound tech was very cold, and she just, after she's like, I can't find anything, she finally finds something, and she says, your baby's dead. And I'm sitting here crying on the table. She has no sympathy. She's like, put your clothes on. I'll go see if a doctor wants to talk to you. And she didn't even ask the doctor to come in to try to find anything, to do anything. And when I worked as a nurse, we weren't supposed to do that. The doctor always came in, but oh well. She's like, okay, doctor wants to see you. She throws us in a closet next door, it's a storage room. And we sit there for an hour and a half. I'm weeping the entire time. What did I do to my baby? Why is my baby dead? Why am I going through this? We've waited 10 years for this. I have a heart condition, and why would God do this to us? An hour and a half goes by. It's the end of our doctor's shift. She takes us into her office, and she says, by the way, you're having twins, identical twins, but by the way, they're dead. Those were her exact words. I'm not lying. And my husband and I are like, okay, we're having twins. Yay, happy for 1 second, and then we're back to misery. And I said, my husband said, well, maybe it's just too early to detect heartbeats, because when you have twins, it can be harder to find heartbeats. And I said, maybe, and she goes, no, that's not the case. And I said, well, I can pray for a miracle. She goes, what's the point? Why do you want to do that? So we literally were in agony. I went home, I was crying. I wanted these babies. I wanted to be pregnant. I wanted to carry this life in my body, and I just could not believe what I went through that day. She said, okay, go a couple of weeks. We'll get another ultrasound. Let's just see if it's early detection, and let that be that. And for anyone that's gone through a miscarriage, it is truly hell on earth. I have never, ever imagined how painful a miscarriage is. It's basically a loss of a child, and I never understood as a nurse how painful it is. But after the second ultrasound, they say your levels are dropping, your babies are dead, we told you so. And so I've literally gone through a miscarriage of identical twins. We have no idea if they were boys or girls, but I was a mommy for 6.5 weeks, and that was the most incredible moment of my life. To say this, I want you to know that no matter what you're doing on the right path that God leads you on, no matter if you're in a good place with God, you're still going to have hard times. Life is not going to ever get easier, and when you're on the path that God tells you to go on, it's going to be a hard road. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's the road less traveled. It's just a hard life. And I just want you to know that no matter what you go through, no matter how hard it is, divorce, loss of a job, loss of a child, loss of anything, a rape, abuse, no matter what it is, do not give up on life. I did for 2 years. It is miserable giving up. I can't get those 2 years back. Although it is good I had those 2 years of denial, it's good I had those 2 years of anger, because I would not be where I am today, speaking to you with the faith and the hope and the love that I have for God. I wouldn't be here without that. But I just want to encourage all of you, do not give up on life, no matter how hard it is. Do not give up on God. Even though you feel like you're alone, even though you feel like that you're in it all by yourself and that you have no friends, which I lost all mine, I was alone. Don't give up on God, because during that time, He is testing your faith. He is seeing how far you can go until you are going to be so reliant on Him that He is all you need and He is all you want. And that is basically what I want to leave with you today, is I want you to not give up no matter how hard it is, no matter what you're going through. Just keep having that faith, keep praying, and God will take you to a place that is the most amazing place that you never dreamed possible, which is what I'm doing here. Again, I didn't want to be a speaker. I wanted to be a nurse, and look at me. But God will literally redirect your life into what He wants you to do, because things that you don't think you have, your strength you don't think you have, you're wrong. You have strength that you don't even know about if you use God and you allow Him to direct you. I'm going to close with this one thing. My husband and I were watching the 9/11 stuff this past year, and something they said just really struck a chord with me, and I want to use it with all my speeches. When the towers fell, remember how everyone was like, where is God? God's not here. They were just, why would God allow this to happen? During this, Bob Appleby, he is a pastor in Connecticut, he said this during that time: we live in a world today now where people look good on the outside but are in pain on the inside. To each and every one of us, our pain is to some degree is our own ground zero. How true is that? It doesn't have to be a terrorist attack. We all have a ground zero. Mine was my abuse, my rape, my miscarriage, my almost divorce, my teachers telling me I'm stupid and worthless, my suicide attempts. That was my ground zero. Everyone in here has a ground zero. It may not be as extreme and crazy as mine, but everyone has a ground zero each and every day. We look at you and you look beautiful on the outside. That has nothing to, you can have heartbreak on the inside, no one would ever know. We never know what someone else is going through unless you ask and if you pray and you're there for that person. Carl Keyes finishes up that by saying, each individual person in their own home, in their own school, maybe at their own job and in their life will face a ground zero. And sometimes in those 9/11 moments of your own, there's no one's hand to hold. And I tell you that God extended His hand to you during that time. When the ground begins to shake underneath you, and that's all that, and at that time, you find, during that time when the ground is shaking, you find your own cross. And that cross is your ground zero. And when you do, you will realize that there is hope. Why they said that And if you remember at Ground Zero, when all the towers fell, they actually were asking, where is God? At that time, a firefighter found 2 beams in the shape of a cross. And that is where that came from. And that is where they said that. And that is so true. It does not have to be a terrorist attack. Just to look at your life, examine your life, and just pray and ask God to direct you, redirect you, give you faith, give you hope, give you guidance. Believe in Him, trust in Him, no matter how hard it gets. I promise you there is hope and there is good things to come if you just believe. I want to thank you for allowing me to share my testimony. And if you guys have any questions, trust me, I'm an open book. I will answer anything except how I tried to commit suicide. But seriously, do ask questions. I'm here for you. And if you need anything, let me know. And thank you. Do you want to? Here you go. Oh, I was going to say, here you go.
My question was, are you in pain when you wake up in the morning? Is it something you just have to pray through every day?
A lot of days, yes. The way I tell people is I have bad days and I have really bad days. I actually don't know what a good day is because I have symptoms daily. Every stinking day, all the symptoms. Some days are worse than others, where some days it is difficult to get out of bed. I have to force myself to get out of bed. And there are some days that when I can't. Chris will come home, I'm still in bed, and he's like, you're miserable, I can tell. And so I literally do have to pray through a lot of those days to get myself going every day. And the sad part is this is the rest of my life. And I'm having to learn my new normal of what I can live, what I can do, and what I can physically handle.
If anyone else has a question, I'll be happy to go around with the microphone.
Yes. Okay. The book, sorry. I am selling my cookbook. It's $16.99. My testimony is in the book. As I tell people, I'm not really selling a cookbook. I'm trying to share my testimony and get it out there. But my book is $16.99. I am biased. I think it's the best cookbook ever written. I do have some amazing stories. If you are trying to lose weight, it is possible. I actually had an amazing testimony. My father-in-law he's a minister. He was at a hospital. And he was talking to a patient about my book, and this woman came from behind another curtain, and she was like, you know, Be Your Own Chef? And he was like, yes. That's my daughter-in-law. And she said, I have to tell you, that book changed my life. And he was like, wow. And he asked how it happened, and she said, I lost 25 pounds cooking her food. I saw her on TV, because I cook on TV in Tennessee, and I saw her, and I bought her cookbook, and I went to the doctor, and my doctor said, what are you doing? You're no longer on diabetic medicine. You're no longer on blood pressure medicine. Your levels are incredible. You've lost over 25 pounds. What is the change? And it was because of my recipes. So if you are trying to lose weight, or even if you're not trying to, and you want good, healthy food that's not full of, what's that bad syrupy stuff again? Corn syrup. Like, I make homemade salad dressings in there, and I teach you how to eat chicken parmesan and it's called waistline because it's healthy. I teach you that you can eat mac and cheese, and it's so much healthier, and you can eat the whole thing and not feel a bit guilty. And, of course, the homemade potato chips, which, by the way, did y'all like the chips today? You did? Those are also in the book. That's the only page I've memorized because that's the only thing people care about, actually. So it's on page 22 and 23. I have several flavors in there. If you don't like just the regular, you have different flavors. And yes, they're fried, but I'm sorry, you have to eat bad food sometimes. I mean it. So there is some bad food in there, but you can make it fattener, if that's a word, probably not. Or you can make it healthier, whichever way you want to go. But they're over here for $16.99. I will sign them if you want me to sign them. If you have questions that you don't want to share in front of other people, feel free to use me, talk to me, I'll pray with you, whatever you need. But I'll be over there if y'all, oh, yes. Uh-huh. I literally am in prayer all the time. And music is, I can't explain to you what music does for me. I get on spiritual high. I'm a mountaintop every day when I listen to music. Christian music, my iPod. I work out every day. The doctors told me to at Mayo Clinic. It doesn't do me any good in some ways because I have exercise intolerance. I cannot do it. I'm short of breath all the time. It's hard. Exercise is so stinking hard. I hate it. But I listen to Christian music a lot of the time when I'm working out, and I pray through it, and I listen to that, and I do my devotion. But God truly has blessed me so much by the music, the prayer, and staying close to Him, that is where I stay close to God. And doing things like this draws me closer to Him too.